Hi, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's October 25th, and present from the board, we have Stan Steiner and Mary Lee White and Vicki Rosenberg on Zoom, and myself, Lisa McGee. From the staff, we have Lindsay and Stella and Jerry and Olivia. Yeah. And Abigail Moore. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Could I have a motion to adopt today's agenda?
I move to.
Oh, Vicki, go ahead. All right, Vicki.
I move to adopt the agenda for today. Approve the agenda for today.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. All right, we have some approval of past minutes, both the August and September minutes. August was a regular meeting. September was a quick voucher meeting. Can we do a motion to approve both in one, or do you want them separate?
Doesn't matter.
You can do both.
All right, I'm gonna move then that we approve the minutes of both the August 23rd, 2023 regular board meeting minutes, as well as the minutes of the September 27th, 2023 voucher meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Stan, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Correspondence. Kip, do you have anything to say?
We actually had one letter.
We did.
Kim Springer, who is a neighbor of our property, was inquiring about the parking discussion that was going on with the development of the Virginia. And so I just gave her an update and told her where she could find information. And right now there is no update. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. We will stay tuned. All right. So, moving on to the consent agenda. Stella, would you like to prepare, or would you like to tell us about your report?
Sure, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Just a couple of things to highlight. One of the things that we noticed when we went to the county accounting is that our interest income really improved, and I've mentioned this on several occasions. And at this point in the third month of the fiscal year, the year-to-date amount of interest is $5,385. So we're looking to have another great year. Another unexpected revenue that we had was that in September, we received a letter from CDW, which is a company that we procure some of our technology from. And they work with a lot of governments and nonprofit entities. And they were informing us that going back to 2018, we had some overpayments, duplicate payments. And so we had money due back to us. So we did receive a check in the amount of $4,707. So that was unexpected revenue. And then we've just received our first disbursement for the year from the Teton County revenue. So we had not yet received a disbursement in July or August, but we did in September. And that was the amount of $144,162. So, in terms of expenses, we did have a higher than usual expense with our contract here for janitorial services in Jackson. Reason being is that we did not receive an invoice in August or July, so we got 3 months worth all at the same time. So that was a little bit more than typical. Rick has worked with the manager of the company, and we should be on track that they won't be sending us multiple invoices all at once. Um, and then the other item to note is on the Teton County Treasurer balance sheet. The library capital reserves, that is basically the same amount stated as was on the August balance sheet. Reason being, we have had some capital expenditures. However, the county just has not deducted them yet from that fund. So presumably maybe next month we'll start to see the fund being decreased a little bit, but. And then that's also a reminder too, in your P&Ls under line item 910, you'll see an expenditure, but that expenditure will then be removed from that line item and deducted from the capital reserve fund, which is a separate fund than our operating budget. So that's pretty much, I think, the highlights for the past month. Any questions?
I have a question. So how is it that there was a double payment made, like a duplicate payment?
I can't answer that because I was not here in 2018.
Oh, okay.
There was actually 6 of them from the letter that they sent me, and I do have the letter here if you'd like to look at that, but,
Okay. Well, I'm just curious, like, is there some way that, I mean, the board's primary duty is to oversee the budget, and I'm just wondering, is there a way somebody could have caught that, or?
It could, but the person I did, after receiving the letter, I did speak to somebody because I was like, what? I don't understand. What do you say we get more money? The person I spoke to said that it could have been a situation where maybe there was a check payment as well as a credit card payment. But that's the best answer I can give you because I just don't know, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. Steph.
Sure.
Does anybody want to pull anything else away from the consent agenda? Any of these spreadsheets or reports? Did any questions arise?
Just have one question about the cleaning fees. If I remember right, they bid on it and we had a contract for a certain amount. And was that extra amount for that 3 bills, was that within that certain amount that was the original?
Yes, so there are some standards that are in the cleaning contract, and then occasionally there might be some other outside incidentals that we get charged for, that maybe are outside of the contract, so some of that might have been part of it, but those 3 bills were all based upon the contract events, the monthly standard amount.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the October 2023 consent agenda.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Mary.
Second.
Thanks, Stephen. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Jerry, I think it looks like we're handing over the floor to you.
Jay,
Have to tell me.
Summary.
Scroll.
yeah, you can scroll on. This is just like the intro.
I love your report.
Beth did the report. We keep going. We go to some of the goals. Yeah, here we go. So our biggest goal this year was to read for 1 million minutes from birth through middle school. Came pretty close. It came up a little short. And we actually came up short in terms of signups too. We had fewer people sign up this year, but the people who did sign up had a higher participation rate. So what our takeaway is we have fewer kids participating in the after school program than we did in 2019. And so we overlapped the last week of school with signups. So fewer kids here, fewer signups, but the kids who did sign up actually participated in the program more. So we were pleased with that. You can keep going here. Every kid who signs up gets a free book. We set up a big book fair in the youth auditorium and we had little book bags for them too. So every child gets a book and a book bag, and books are also then instant prizes. So as they read through the summer, if they read for 1 hour, they get a ticket that they can enter into the raffles for prizes. or they can choose an instant prize, which is a free book. We ended up giving away 2,000 books. Yeah. So here's some stats of, how close we were and how many people were signed up. We are seeing an increase, you can keep going, yeah. An increase in the number of adults participating, and that's because we do it all in the app now. So if a child signs up, the adult downloads the app and keeps track for them. And it's pretty easy at that point to just say, you're in too. So we've got a higher adult participation rate than in the past, that continues to increase. Keep going here. You can kind of see some of our stats, and this is all in the report for you to read. So here's our kickoff party, the phone party. We've done this 2 years in a row. It's really popular. The kids love it. This is Eva over in Alta. I don't know if we'll do it again next year because we've done it 2 years in a row, but it would be hard to find something else as popular as this. And it was very affordable. And then here's some of the events we did for the summer. So throughout the summer, this is something we started during COVID, was take-home crafts. And we've continued it because they're so successful. Typically in the summer, we would have a craft and we might get 10 or 15 kids. With these, we give away about 100 every Wednesday at noon, and they're usually gone for an hour or two. Yeah, so we put everything in there. You just grab a bag for each child, take it home, and there's a whole craft to put together, and all the supplies are in it. So that's something that's really been a positive that's come out of COVID. Then, so we do some other stuff throughout the summer. We had movies, some crafts. We had some musicians come. Keep going. So as the kids read, they can get raffle tickets and enter to win these prizes. And that's kind of the motivator. It's, the program is really for us to bridge the gap from the end of school until the next school year and just kind of motivate kids to participate and read as much as possible. To stop that slide. And the prizes, the activities, all of that, the Beanstack app is kind of just, it's sort of worked out pretty well to keep them reading. Here's the book fair. So we set up the youth auditorium. We buy a lot of books from Scholastic, and we buy some from our supplier Ingram. And we also supply, so there's 2,000 given away. We supply a lot for the Sproutmobile, so a lot of those we order from Ingram as well. So the Sproutmobile, if you're not familiar, drives around town, has different locations and that it visits during the week, and anyone who shows up gets a free meal, free book, and then sometimes there's some kind of activity or craft to do there as well. So we supply the books for that. There we go.
Who supplies the meal?
The meal, that's the is it Whole Food Rescue?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's their Sprinter van that does it, and then they have some volunteers that go along with it, yeah.
Will you do that next summer now that you all have your own van?
I don't think we'll do that because this is kind of their program. The idea was to get food out there.
Yeah.
And they just asked us to jump on board with the books. So I would imagine we might be doing other things with our van. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can see adults, and here's the final stats. So you can see where our participation was in first through fifth grade, and kids were down a little bit. So I guess our goal next year is how do we reach out to get more kids to participate? We're seeing fewer and fewer kids with after school because the schools are actually doing more programs at the school. They've got grant money because of COVID, and kids who slid back, they've got grant money to continue after school programs of education on the campuses, which is pretty nice. And, it's just made us have to adjust to what we're doing.
Jerry, you might reach out to Libby Wood.
I talk to Libby all the time. Yeah,
Just,
she was in the building today.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and she's the one who's leading the school programming.
Yeah.
We talked this summer, and a lot of it has to do with, in the past, the school let out, the kids got on buses and they just dumped them around town. And we, figured it out, but now they're actually doing more educational programs at the schools, which is pretty good. I think it's in the end, we're seeing about the same, we're seeing higher participation. So that's a good thing. We're just seeing fewer signups. A lot of kids were just here, they signed up, they got the free book, and then they didn't do summer. They didn't do the program. I don't know whether or not they read, but I don't think losing kids who weren't participating was terrible, although we'd like to get them in and participate.
Yeah, I was just thinking it might be, we have a man, and it might be going to some of those sites. Coordinated with maybe wherever.
Oh.
Yeah, just-
Yeah, I mean, that's in the schools. We're not allowed in. I guess. I guess we could create our own program, but we've got our stuff going here that we're running. Yeah. So Beanstack, again, that's the app we've been using for, I think, 2 or 3 years now. We use that year round for all of our reading programs. So right now we're doing the STEAM program. Last year we did a NASA program. In the winter, we'll come up with something else. Kind of just keep people active and reading and participating in all of those. And the survey results were very positive. And you can read this is a lot of comments, and it's all funded by, the whole program is funded by the Foundation of Friends, which really makes our job pretty easy. We just have to get creative and come up with ideas.
Question for them.
Yeah,
Particularly, this is a question related to adults. Do you count audiobooks as reading?
everything counts, yes. Reading a book, reading a magazine, listening to an audiobook, reading to a child counts for both.
Oh, that's even better.
You read to a child, you get 1 hour, and the child also gets 1 hour of reading. That's how we
Alright.
get through K. Yeah,
And do the kids or their families have to be members of the library?
no,
Okay.
yeah, we have visitors who will sign up for a week or two while they're here and mostly collect instant prizes because they wouldn't be around for the raffles, but
Yeah.
but we're happy to give them a free book and book bag and get them going. We get a lot of that throughout the summer.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Jerry? Thank you so much.
Jay,
Thank
you
you.
have the desk. Thank you. Thanks for the time.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so I think we're up to your report, Kip.
Sure. My report is mostly in statistics for 2 months, so there's a lot of numbers to look at. The highlight almost every month seems to be staffing and hiring. I knew as soon as I wrote the statement that we are fully staffed, we would not be fully staffed. One of our part-time library assistants leading us. So, but otherwise, we are fully staffed
Technically,
with
we're fully
full-
staffed till
till
November.
November. We have a wonderful new facilities maintenance technician. His name's Chris Moran. Our former adult services senior library assistant, Callie Mastriani, who did the library things, is now the makerspace person, and she's actively learning this equipment. I heard she was in here sewing the other day, so. We just hired her replacement on the adult services team, Matthew Pileski, and he starts on November 6th. And so that will make us sort of fully staffed. Oh, and our IT tech person, who may have heard his name mentioned earlier, Quinn Stott. The library employee housing support fund that the foundation graciously funds to help staff out was getting hard to administer by the housing trust because the language was not very clear on what it could support, what the fund could support and not support. So Diana and I cleaned up that language, and that's, or you may see what the exact language is now. Oh, I suppose I should mention it. We do have a patron that we excluded from the library for 30 days, for some pretty inappropriate behavior. He did return to the library, to drop off a package of, I'm not sure what you would call it. It was a lot of community brochures that he wrote hate speech on. And so I
He
did,
returned after he was banned.
yeah, and just wanted to see me and get me that envelope. And I did call the Jackson police to discuss his situation. They're very familiar with him. And I think just based on his behavior, we probably won't see him until his exclusion is ended. And just wanted to
Okay.
say his piece, I guess. I'm on vacation after this meeting. I will be back, on the 6th or 7th of November.
Unless it's just so fun up there.
Well, there is that, that's right.
Well, thank you. Any
Any
questions for Kip?
questions?
Thanks for your good report.
And I guess I just want to say too, thanks for your good responses that you wrote to some of the letter writers and clarifying confusion and, yeah. all that.
Agreed.
To talk about that.
We will. Okay, so the Friends and Foundation, Foundation and Friends.
Today is also the Old Bills celebration where
That's
they
right.
get all the awards, and
That's
so
where Diana is.
Diana is there. She did submit a report. The two things that I would highlight from it is she included their new strategic plan, which in a lot of ways mirrors ours.
Okay. And I didn't see it included. Is it on the website?
It was part of the
Wasn't there-
report.
Oh, right
Keep
here,
scrolling
there's the
down.
staff report,
It's actually
the other one.
foundation.
After the financial
Oh.
information.
So here.
And the thing I would highlight from her budget report is that we are just spending through all of their money really
Oh.
fast. Last year at this time, we had spent, forget what the exact amount was, but, or the percentage, but we had only spent a fairly small percentage, and right now we're at about 25% spent.
Okay, that's great.
And of course, the van is a large piece of that. We are very thankful for the foundation.
That's great.
Oh, there it is.
Are you finding it?
Yeah.
Great.
So does it say how we did, how the library did with old bills this year?
I can't tell you, well,
Oh,
I guess
until
that,
we-
yeah,
the
until they have the
final, we get the-
celebration.
Oh, okay.
They did
They're over
not-
there right now.
The amount was less than last year, but with the match, it will probably be about the same as last year. There's just so much competition for dollars.
So much.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anybody else have a question about Diana's report? Please thank her from us.
And she brought me treats.
And for picking up the chat.
Yes.
That's very nice thing.
Yeah. Great. I think we're at the point in the agenda where we are going to, if I have a motion, open up this part of the meeting for the public hearing for the purpose of hearing comments, public comments on the proposed library card policy.
I move we open it up to public comment on the library card policy.
Thanks so much, Vicky. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mary Lee. Any discussion?
I just wanted to make sure, either on the record for clarification, just a couple of questions. One is,
Okay, so this is, so there will be a whole other section if you have substantive questions,
This-
right?
Just
So
to,
this is just to
So
hear from
open the
outside
hearing.
people, then we will talk
Okay.
about our questions. But I can't wait to hear yours. So any discussion about opening this part of the meeting though, for the hearing? Otherwise, guess all in favor of opening this part of the meeting to public comment? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
we,
here's our
we-
public hearing.
we have
We have
no
no
one
parts of the-
online.
of the-
Because Kip answered the letters so well.
I will
We-
say, yeah, I appreciate that.
Did receive 9 public comment letters via email from some of Jackson or Teton County, Wyoming residents, some from residents in Teton Valley, Idaho. And the comments ranged from we support the policy, to I guess the piece that the public had questions about mostly was the non-resident fee and how that might affect them going forward. And as the policy is written, just to say the card policy gives almost anybody who wants a library card in either Teton County a free card. The Teton Valley residents have some restrictions, which are just based on demand and supply and contracts with vendors. And I don't know if we need to read
No,
these.
I think assuming that everyone read them, you can just close the public
Close the
hearing
public
on
hearing.
public comment and then engage in your own
Okay,
deliberations.
great. Well, I move to close the public hearing, which was to take public comment on the proposed adoption of the new library card policy. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All in
Yes.
favor?
Oh, no.
Not yet. All right, all in favor of closing the public hearing? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, the public hearing is closed. And now we are into our discussion based on Kip's report and the actual language of the policy. So we'll have a motion whether to approve or not, but this is the time for discussion. And Stan,
So I wanted, just for the record, a clarification on our relationship with Teton Valley's library system. You know, ours, as far as how that works, yeah.
I forget which month, maybe it was August, we signed, July or August, we
Yeah.
signed a reciprocal borrowing agreement with that library system. It means that their patrons can get a library card. If they have a library card at that library, they can come here and get a library card and borrow most everything. And then the converse of that is true. Our patrons can go to their library and show them their library card here and get one there. And then they can borrow most everything with some restrictions as well.
And with that, I think, since it's been a while, there's no cost if they go that route.
No,
Yeah, so we got that.
so anybody who lives over there and has a library card over there can get a library card here.
Mary Lee,
So there is the non-resident library card fee, I think, is confusing. And it sounds to me, I guess my question is anyone currently paying the $20 non-resident fee who isn't going to be able to get a library card through all of these other opportunities that are clarified in this policy? Or explained?
I can't answer that as specifically as you would like, because of who can have who's currently paying the $20. So a lot of seasonal.
Right, because they're
yeah,
all gonna
so-
go into different.
But they'll go
categories.
into new categories.
Yeah.
It would be likely, there's maybe two scenarios.
Mhm.
Somebody who just loves this library, doesn't live here, and wants a library card from here because we're so great. Or perhaps the Valley of the Tetons patron who really wants to access Libby. Because they don't like their Libby collection. Though in recent, I don't know exactly when it happened, but the state of Idaho, all of the Libby consortiums have signed an agreement, I guess, where a person who has a card at the Valley of the Tetons and their consortium is very small, can access the collection out of the Boise Library, out of the Meridian Library. It's quite possible if all of those Libby's together are better than Wyoming's, our patrons might be wanting access instead, and they won't get access. But those are the only two scenarios that I can really think of. I don't know. Olivia's in circulation. I don't know if you've thought of other possibilities.
I do think that we have some patrons that are living outside of Valley of the Tetons, Teton County, residents that commute and work and contribute to this community. But I don't know how high that number is, and you can certainly look at the stats, but.
Oh, the people who live in Lincoln County,
Right.
for instance, have a Lincoln County card and they have access to us already.
Right.
So,
Lincoln County
Yeah.
has access to Teton County's collection,
yeah, a Wyoming
Because all
card is
Wyoming-
good anywhere in Wyoming.
But you mean people
but
who
like
live
Libby
more
would be.
further west?
Like Rexburg or.
Yeah.
Idaho Falls or
South
something.
High into something, you would have people from like Daniel and Pell.
Kind of piggybacking on this, is there any contingency for people who work in Teton County but live outside of Teton County where we don't have a reciprocal agreement to pay less than $190?
It would have to be those few people that commute from beyond Teton County, Idaho.
Oh,
So
yeah, and there are plenty of them, actually. Is Ashton in Teton County, Idaho? Ashton and Tetonia?
I don't know.
How far north it goes.
I don't know exactly how far north, but I know there are an awful lot of people there. And also, we've got people in Fremont County coming over to Jackson to work.
they have a Wyoming library card, so their
So
library.
they could be fine.
So here's
Okay.
my question, if it's really kind of in a small number, then is it necessary that we make the fee set it at 190? I'm wondering if there is a possibility that we could lower that fee. I think we're such a welcoming and open library, and I'm afraid that the $190 non-resident fee will create confusion. Like, if you were to look at this policy and you were a non-resident and you saw $190 fee, but you didn't realize, oh, I could get a seasonal pass or card, or I'm a teacher, or all the other options. So I'm just wondering if it's really necessary, if it would be harmful to the library to lower that fee, and just to eliminate confusion, really. And the other idea that has come up is that if it's based on the average Teton County income, that's really skewed by the number of extremely wealthy people who live in Teton County, and that the income of most workers would be really quite a bit lower, and their tax burden would be worse class. So I'm just wondering if we might consider, just basing it on some other formula. And, or even just a philosophy that we want as many people to use our library as possibly can. And make it a fee that, I mean, I wouldn't go, I would leave, I don't know how to proceed, I just wonder how everybody else feels about that.
Vicky, do you have?
Yeah, I know that at some point, in the relatively recent past, you all, explained where that $190 figure came from, which I certainly understood. It just seems that to go from I agree with Mary Lee, to go from a $20 card to a $190 card seems to be frankly outrageous.
Kind of along that line, and maybe this is a question for Stella. How much on an average year do we actually generate from the $20 fee?
I actually don't have that figure, because all of our revenue is now, majority of our revenue is now all under one lump sum of library revenue.
Yep.
I don't know if there's a way to pull up a report in our, what's called workflows, which is the back end. I'm now looking at Olivia because she's more familiar with workflows than I am. I don't know if there's a way, there might be a way to pull up a report that says how many cards by card type. I'm thinking there
Yeah,
probably is.
yeah.
I'm not familiar with the
We can pull
software.
up the guest
Yeah.
cards and see, because they automatically renew every year, or they automatically notify the patrons they need to come in and renew their card every year, and they can pay online. So they don't necessarily need to come in to renew them, but it is an annual fee that they receive an email.
But one thing that would be hard to sort is how many of those current non-resident card holders will fall into another category, like a season, right, become a seasonal card holder or a teacher or, you know, all the other opportunities for library cards, free library cards.
I think, and I could be wrong on this, but I think seasonal workers that have housing provided by their employer in Teton County are getting resident cards, not non-resident cards, because they're proving that they're currently residents.
Right.
So I don't know if the seasonal workers would really fall in that category so much.
But also the reciprocal.
Well, we could pull up, I don't know how it would be. I don't know like how we can distinguish like Victor Drake's, or like, you know, have like a group, a clump of the resident, non-resident cards that are within the Valley of the Teton region. I'm not sure.
The library gave me some numbers in an email that I don't know that I would say they're reliable, but I believe they said there were about 300 cards in Idaho and 53 were active. And the 53 seems awfully low.
Yeah, that's, I'm not.
When people get a non-resident card, they have to give their address.
Yeah,
So when those expire, assuming the reciprocal agreement has already gone through, they won't say re-up and pay 20. They'll say, actually, do they have to renew just at no cost, but they need to take an active step? Or will it?
They'll have to show us that they have a library card at their
Right.
library there,
So-
and then we'll issue them
A
a
new
library
card.
card.
So there'll be an email specific to those people that
As they
says,
expire.
as they
probably.
expire.
lives the option of a non-resident card with the fee and then a reciprocal card if they, and it'll be a different card number. So T00 is the Teton County educator, seasonal resident, non-resident cards, and then the reciprocal starts like 29,116 or something, so they would need to have a different physical card.
I think in something that you wrote, Kip, you said where it's projected that we might lose money because we had more people with this $20 fee and now that's gonna be waived. I just wonder if there's, say, 25 people out there who are beyond the bounds of Teton County, Idaho, but would pay 50,
Right.
that could actually like fiscally be better than making it 190 and not, and having that be cost prohibitive for most people.
And I think it's safe to say that those people who want a library card are probably working in our community and paying sales tax and making us, I mean, heavens, we need workers like crazy. You know, I just feel like we should be encouraging them to use our library and not discouraging them. And I just question if the 190 fee is really, like you said, beneficial, even fiscally.
And I wonder too, you know, if we had a huge rush of people from all over the country wanting our card, then I think that we'd have evidence to show that's not fair. You know, if you live in New York City, you never come here, but you just think our library is the best, then you should pay your fair share. But for the people who might have a tie to here, it seems like, yeah, I guess I'm open to that too.
So if we wanted to, make a change, what would the procedure be? How would we go about that?
When you move to adopt the policy and the rules, you would just, we know with enough specificity. You know, I'm going to adopt the library card proposal, but with the following changes. And then you just could change it, just, you know. And then, yeah, and then that's it, and then we'll put it into the policy that we're supposed to. So.
Could we table that now? For the next meeting so people could discuss it some more?
You don't have another meeting until January.
I would be happy to make a motion and we could vote it up or down.
And there was one other thing, if I might interject, Kip, that I think that you had wanted
Yeah, I was gonna
changed.
bring that up.
That,
We talked about giving Teton County employees a library card, but we also want to include Town of Jackson employees.
Right.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if you're outside the county, but work for the town of Jackson, you can.
That pretty much anybody that wants to get outside, they have to show a library card regardless of where they're from.
Sorry, I'm a
Like,
little,
so let's say, I believe if New York comes here and they have to show the condo there.
mhm. Well, if they have proof of residency, if they don't
They
pay
have
taxes
that.
in Teton County.
But with the, all the other folks, what I'm hearing you say is they show a card and you sort of determine from that.
They show their ID and then they have to prove that they either are employed in Teton County or pay taxes in Teton County. In some way, so they own property or rent,
Yeah, so it's like getting your post office box. You either have to show a pay stub or a lease
or car registration.
car registration, something. Although, so actually the town of Jackson employees, I don't know that they or the Teton County employees have to be specifically called out because they just fall under working in Teton County.
Exactly.
So, but we can leave it in there, but
But it's
sort of-
not that broad now. It's only
Or
if
is
you work for the county or for the town. It's not if you work in the county. You actually have to be a county employee, right? That's the
Yeah.
difference.
Right, but isn't there also a category, I'm sorry, I haven't looked at the rule in a
think so.
while,
I
where
don't-
anyone who works in Teton County, if they.
No,
No.
Oh,
no,
okay.
we started to go down that road, but it was
Okay.
too hard to, it would have been too hard for staff to have to.
To have to figure out just that they worked and how many hours and, okay.
They
But the
change
seasonal
jobs
card
every week.
would
The
be,
seasonal
they could
part,
be-
I thought,
right? They would be eligible, and that would need to be renewed every 6 months.
Every 6 months. Free of charge, man.
Yeah.
But categories are really generous. I think it's just this one that we think isn't gonna apply to a bunch of people. Vicky?
It's, now, the only time people have to show their cards is if they're checking something out, correct? We're not gonna require people to show their cards to walk in, right?
No.
But any online service, you would need to you need to have an account.
Right,
use-
right. You have to have your number to enter in to use your
Yeah.
on.
And a
I could think of
Yeah.
people sign up because we get Bernie Brown this week.
Yeah.
So,
I was just trying to think of someone that would make people in random places want to have a library.
to make these changes, we wanna make two changes, so do we need a motion for each change?
No,
or
you can
one?
just move to adopt the policy with the following changes and then you list them in your motion.
I'll make a motion, and then if we want to continue discussing, if we can. I'm a little uncertain what that, non-resident fee should be, but I'm just gonna go ahead and take a stab at it.
Okay.
So I move that, I'm gonna just say it, and I don't know if I'm saying it formally properly or what, but, that we, change the non-resident fee to, $50 a year. And that we, also include town employees in the county employee category. So it includes Teton County employees and Town of Jackson employees.
Thanks, Mary Lee. Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
Stan, okay. So discussion, I guess I have a question based on the $50.
Is that what you said, Mary Lee? You said 50?
50.
50.
Oh, I thought you said 15 and I'm thinking, we
No,
can't
no,
go
no, no,
below.
no.
50. I think while the 190 is based on, you know, people's the
It's just-
demographics here, it's a split.
It's just a per capita.
It's a per capita. Is 50 enough to cover what it would cost for an out-of-state person to use the electronic? Like, I don't want the library to lose money. Right, is 50, does that seem like it would be more than enough?
Well,
I can say that we had a discussion before we went a formulaic way. We were at around $90, I think we discussed it.
Oh,
The leadership team.
Well, why don't we put it partway and say 75?
I think we're being so arbitrary because we don't even know how much we're generating on the existing situation. And if it's not that many people, maybe this is almost a pointless discussion. So, but one of the things that I think we have to do is we have to figure out a way to maybe start tracking so we get an idea of how many people this really involves. Because it doesn't, I mean, I just, yeah, it doesn't seem like it's.
it almost seems like one of those questions that you would be extremely difficult to answer with all the tracking in the world, because we're kind of talking about a reaction that somebody has, like, would $75 prohibit someone or stop someone from getting a library card? And we might not even know that, like, you know, they could say, oh, they could read the policy and say, oh, I can't get a library card, it's too much for me.
Yeah, but I wanna go back even farther to find out. There's a way that we can find out how many we actually have right now. And I know 300 or something was thrown out there, but, and only 50 some were active. But I think we've gotta figure out a way to, you know, at least track some of that so that we can kind of look at this. Okay, we've got 300 people that are using our services and they're using the online stuff. All right, we're losing money then. Then it's a bigger issue. You know, but if they're just using it to check out books or magazines or movies when they come on vacation or whatever. You know,
But then they have a seat. Library.
Is it possible to mine that data, Stella?
So in terms of the revenue, I could possibly look at historically, I could possibly find some old historical reports in terms of revenue. But the thing is, you're still not gonna actually get the data that you're seeking because, and help me along here, Olivia, because of the way that current guest cards or accounts are created right now and have been historically, it's not broken out within what
Oh,
those
where they're from.
categories are. So we're still not gonna get to drill down to some of the meat of answering some of the questions about
Almost
who.
seems like we need to approve the policy to get a new category. And
Watch
then
it
get
for
the
a few
data.
years.
Yeah.
And see what
What I was
happens.
trying to propose is maybe adopt it as it is with at least the Jackson town employees difference. And actually see, I think you're right, those few people who live beyond the borders of Teton County, Idaho may be affected by that. But I don't know how big that is.
But I don't wanna leave it at 190. I would like it to be lower and then, you know, look at it for a couple of years and then after all the categories are available and people sort out into the new categories. And then we see how many people are actually paying for the non-seasonal pass or library card. And, if it is a significant amount and the library feels like we're losing money and it's not fair for some reason, then we modify the policy and raise the rate. I would feel better about that, just because I think 190 is putting.
It's just a big jump,
Yeah,
20, that's.
yeah.
It reminds me of county health reports. I mean-
Mary Lee's motion was $50 and we had a second. After the discussion, do you wanna make a new motion or are you comfortable with
Rescind
50?
the motion.
So we would revote that motion down.
You know, you can amend your motion, like have a motion to amend your motion in a second,
Friendly.
but the, you know, friendly amendments does, don't go to.
Okay,
I
don't even,
the easiest thing is to withdraw it
okay,
and start it.
okay,
Uh,
I'm going to withdraw my motion. which-
Okay,
And I'll make a new motion.
okay.
Okay, I
And I
would,
withdraw the second.
okay.
And then let's have
Okay,
everybody,
I-
have everybody vote to agree to withdraw, that motion's off the table.
Okay.
So
I
everyone-
agree. Vicky?
I agree.
Okay,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Right.
Okay, I would like to move that we, amend the,
Why don't we
proposed
say that we'll
policy.
adopt
The li-
the following amendment?
We will adopt the, library card holder policy, with the following amendments. That town of Jackson employees are included, as a category with the Teton County employees. And, is that good? That's that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And then, also that we lower the, non-resident library card fee, from $190 to 75. So we decided 75.
It was on the table.
Okay, let's try 75 and see how that goes.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second,
Vicky? Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Uh-oh, Vicky?
no, I.
Okay, any opposed? Okay. That motion, that amended motion passes.
And then we trust that you will come to us and let us know if that category is much bigger than we suspect it's going to be. And with the guidance of Kip, you'll determine if that fee needs to be higher.
Yeah, let's try to make sure that we keep the records about who's getting them, where they're from, whatever, that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Abigail, that doesn't affect the resolution, I don't think. The language.
No,
I think it's
So I can just make the changes to.
to the policy itself.
Okay,
okay, thank you all. We have a bit more business, so, let's move on to the adoption of the makerspace and the recording studio policy. Is there an update on that? Are we shelving that?
we are not shelving it, but,
Or punting?
we've just, after discussion with Abigail, we decided that the policy should actually go out for.
45 days of public
Okay,
comment, so
Oh,
your,
good idea.
yeah, so your motion today would just be to put the proposed policy out for public comment. If there were any changes you wanted to make to it before it gets officially disseminated out for public comment, we could make changes today. But then we also would have 45 days for you all to review it, staff to review it again, and whatever public comment comes in on it, and then when you adopt. Now, the one thing that we are, you're potentially going to adopt at a special meeting, so one thing we have to do as part of this agenda item is pick a date for a special meeting, because your next regular board meeting is not till the end of January. And staff's anticipating the makerspace being ready more like early January, so if you put it out for public comment, it will, if I think Stella and I get the notice in the paper, the deadline is tomorrow for publication next Wednesday. And 45 days from next Wednesday, when it goes in the newspaper and gets put on the website, is December 16th, a Saturday, so anytime sort of the end of December, or, early January to have a special.
Tie it to a voucher meeting, Ellen?
Yeah, when's the voucher meeting?
So,
Then that would be fine.
December 27th.
do we just call it a special meeting instead of a voucher meeting, or?
Yes, you should call it a special meeting in the, when we do the legal notice, it'll say, the hearing to adopt will be held at a special meeting on December 27th. That's good, because on the off chance we miss tomorrow's deadline, which we shouldn't, because it's a pretty easy notice. The deadline for the week paper the week after is December 23rd. So whichever newspaper we get it in, the 27th will work.
Okay.
So,
Thank you. Do you want us to comment about it now, or do you want the motion first?
you can do discussion before or after.
Okay.
This is fine.
Did anyone have any questions or comments about the language, the proposed language?
It seemed pretty thorough to me, the policy, and I assume that you've looked at other makerspace policies and I kind of a little bit outside of my understanding, but I thought it was thorough and good, and so I'm happy to move to approve the resolution adopting the makerspace and reporting.
No, sorry, we're gonna, we've changed the motion, so.
I'm gonna,
And I-
Yeah, so let's, hold on.
So my question is this, otherwise objectionable catch-all that the library can disallow creation of items under these categories, anything unlawful, dangerous, obscene, racially, ethnically, or otherwise.
Oh, you haven't seen,
objectionable.
that's the
That's
old
the old
version.
version.
Okay,
It's been revised, so,
well,
so
when I'm
take a look.
clicking on this, on the agenda.
Oh, it's in your, teams.
Okay, what is the language now? Does somebody have it open?
Yeah, I actually have it right here, and So that language has been removed because it violates the First Amendment. So, as I imagine the lawyer on the board is like, yes.
It now says the
So-
maker space and its resources may not be used to create or manipulate objects that are prohibited by local, state, or federal law that are unsafe, harmful, dangerous, or pose an immediate threat to the well-being of others, or which infringes upon a patent, trademark, trade secret, copyright, or other proprietary rights of any party.
Okay, that sounds very
And
thorough.
that,
Very
actually,
legal.
if we can swap out the link for the new one, so that when the agenda link as well as everything else is the new one. And that's mostly because the staff had a good draft and then I went to town on it, and of course I did it recently. Which is why it didn't get,
One of the things,
linked.
The makerspace.
Yeah.
The one that's currently on the agenda is not, which is.
So,
Yeah. Oh, my God.
I just wanna make sure, cause the agenda links are there forever, you know, on the county website, so I want the link to be to this, the draft that came in last night. Um, and, yeah, and then just as a follow-up, they had looked at quite a few policies, but I did as well, and we were trying to strike a balance. If you look at them out there, some of them are just a one-page waiver, and that's it. They might have their rules someplace else, but it's just a very simple one-page waiver. And then there are others that it's the waiver and release is like 4 pages of super legal language. And so one of the reasons I spent more time than I was going to is to really try and strike a balance between both combining the rules and the waiver into one document. So like we sort of can almost make people watch them. I almost put initials where they have to initial after each rule, but I didn't want to go that far. But where the rules were clear and where the waiver language was there for the legal reasons to have it, but have it not be too, assigns and successors and all of that.
No, I think that's great.
So.
So Stan?
yeah, I have a question, because this. I'm just thinking about other maker spaces and other things beyond what's here, because all of this stuff is pretty quiet. But let's add a scroll saw, which is not that noisy. And it would be a great thing for a maker space. Because then you're working with wood or plastic and stuff like that in a different way. And I just wondered, well, yes and no. I mean, it's pretty hard to cut your finger off, but I suppose it's possible if you hold it there long enough, but I just wondered about those kind of tools down the road. If somebody donated something like that and how, we will deal with that. In a way, okay, we're not gonna have that, because I mean, you can take a hammer and you can smash your finger too, but I mean, it's just.
But are you saying in terms of, noise? Generally?
Noise is one thing, another thing might be, just the, there's always a safety issue. And so, that definitely, you want somebody that's, working with a mentor or, giving some guidance to be given and something like that.
I thought there was something like in the cooking, it said, like cooking could be, using the kitchen could present some risks, but.
There's an oven, yeah.
Well, I think you're more talking about being able to control when and where, so it doesn't interfere, maybe set hours for certain.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there would have to be some hours set up eventually, depending on what it is, because I don't think you want everything running at one time. So, but, and even whether or not the space is big enough for thinking beyond what's here.
Wonder Institute has a concept of maybe a woodworking makerspace that's not part of the library's makerspace. They currently have in the robotics lab.
Yeah.
next door on woodworkers with space, and so we may not venture beyond. I don't think we're gonna be cutting wood and.
Yeah, and I don't think this policy is about what the makerspace here can be. It's just,
It's pretty. We
Well, and it
cover
it
whatever
does,
you're doing.
under availability, it says all equipment is available, first come, first serve during designated hours.
Yeah.
Which means if you had a piece of equipment that for whatever reason was interfering with other people, either in the makerspace or in the library, you could establish designated hours for use. of that
Yeah.
equipment.
so someone could bring their own noisy tool into the makerspace? So, no.
But I do see down the road that some power tools are gonna make it in here beyond the drill. And then, you know, and that's not. I mean, there's lots of hand tools that are pretty creative right now and stuff that you can do a lot of cool things with. So, or what if somebody donates the CNC?
How about a saw?
It's like a router that, you know, you program and it just cuts out whatever it is you program it to do.
Yeah.
It does graving and things like that.
Well, it does say that the library may accept. We don't have to.
And actually, that section's gone. I totally took out the section on donations, because that doesn't need to be in your rules. We're trying to, it's already long enough. I didn't want anything in there that wasn't directly related to how you access and use the space.
I think because we don't all have the new language in front of us and it's going out for public comment, could we just move it to the December 19th and we can have discussion?
You don't have,
December 27th.
What did I say? December 27th.
it's, if you did that, then it would start the 45 days on December 27th, and then so it wouldn't be in place for when the maker space is going to be available in January.
No, I mean, but can't you put out this week, the new language, 45 days?
Yeah.
We can look at it, the public can look at it, and then we talk
Mhm.
about it on the 27th.
Absolutely.
And we could amend it.
Absolutely, you can, as long as it's, once you do the legal notice that you're doing rules for the makerspace, you can change the rules, it's the whole point of the public comment.
Right.
As well, you just can't do something like outside the
Right.
scope of what's in the legal notice, but if the legal notice says, you know, here are the proposed rules, you can completely rewrite them, and we try and not do it too much, but, you know.
Yeah, I think I'm just suggesting.
Yeah.
We talk about it more. On the 27th.
Yeah.
Does that seem okay?
Yeah, and we definitely will after the public comment.
Yeah, and we try and keep your discussion in public and transparent, but if people have particular questions and things, you can reach out to either Kip individually or myself. And that way, if we start to get a sense that maybe there's a direction, we can have proposed language, you know, to change something ready on the 27th.
And I guess I'd just like to say, I'm not so concerned about noise, because I feel like, the director of the Makerspace program and Kip will be making those decisions based on what's appropriate for use in the library. And they have the power to do that, and I don't think it's limited, their power to do that is limited in any way by the policy. And and also because we have these opportunities for other maker spaces in the community, like a possible, you know, furniture making shop or something like, you know.
None of the current rules address that kind of
Yeah,
specificity.
yeah.
They're mostly that you know, will read the rules, that you'll abide by the rules, you sign the waiver, that you'll wear your safety goggles as designated. That for independent use, you have to do additional training, but the staff have final say on who gets to use a piece of equipment independently. It's super general stuff. And it references what might be specific rules for specific equipment that would be done outside of these rules. They'd be at the discretion of the staff and the person in charge of the space.
I think it does go back to something Kip and said in the way of the other spaces out here. But I know there's people in the community here, like a welder, that's in the community, has done all kinds of work and was wanting to mentor, and he was a former teacher, wanting to mentor kids. But it probably would be in his shop, if he's got all the equipment there. So, but it
And
could be,
that wouldn't be appropriate for the library makerspace.
well,
Have the-
but it could be through the library in the way of, okay, we have this option, but it's at this site, and you gotta work through that person or whatever.
Or through.
So that
the
we're
center
we're still a clearinghouse for possibilities, which I think is one of the best things we can do. So connecting people that way.
So do we need a motion to put this
Yeah.
out for public?
So just I,
I know the wording.
yeah,
All right, please have us.
So-
I move to open for 45-day public comment, the proposed makerspace policy. That's
I say that.
Pretty much what we
All
have.
right, Mary Lee's gonna say that,
I said it.
and I'm seconding.
You can get the word.
Any discussion? Olivia, you put your hand up. Do you wanna-
I'm curious on what the conversation with the art association is. I work at the art, I'm a teacher, a silversmith teacher, and welding actually specifically, they have the whole setup, they don't have somebody to teach it. So like, if we can be in collaboration with them and be able to send patrons to, I know the resources aren't going to be as accessible for some people because of the costs, there's a membership fee at the art association, and maybe that could be even something that, you know, could be part of the collaboration, but, there's definitely like a scroll saw in the woodworking shop there, and, so I'm just curious if there's conversation with Bronwyn or anybody at the art association currently.
That would be something for Kelly.
Yeah.
and to
Okay.
explore.
Yeah.
Good question. Any other discussion?
I feel like it came up in interviews, so like, there's some awareness.
Okay, all in favor of Mary Lee's motion? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
public comment, we'll make sure that you guys, the hearing will be December 27th, and we'll make sure you guys get a notice.
Thank you. Okay, that's great.
We'll get the comments as usual, I'm sure. If there are any.
That this will
Okay,
Think so?
so we have, next on the agenda is the staff report regarding the Foundation and Friends lease. Pretty self-explanatory.
Yes,
Would you like to say anything?
I think the report said it all, but I'll just reiterate that, with the merger of the Friends and the Foundation, there was a need to consolidate the leases into one lease, for the spaces. What came out of our strategic planning process, what came out of theirs, indirectly in some ways, was that there was a need for coffee in the library.
Yeah.
I like that.
And whatever form that takes, we felt that it was a better place to have the foundation manage whatever that looks like than the library. And so what we wanted to do in this revised lease or combined lease is to include space in the lobby for them to do whatever they wanted to for coffee.
Um,
And Abigail made the wording work.
good. Any questions for Kip? Well, I'm gonna move that we approve the lease for the Teton County Library Foundation and Friends.
Oh, I should add that the foundation has read through this and
They like
would
it?
like to sign it.
Okay, great. Do I have a second? Okay, Vicky. Any more discussion? All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, few more. For our consideration. I'm gonna hand it back over to you again, Kip, for these MOUs with the Law Library and the Historical Society and Museum.
Again, my staff report, I hope, sort of laid it out. We've had MOUs with these two organizations for many years. One that goes back to 2011, I think. And they were initially written with a lot more action happening. We were cataloging books for them, we were putting them in our database. And the old MOUs outlined the cost to do all of that. The relationship has moved to where we just sort of include them in our catalog. There's an annual fee to the state library for use of the catalog, so we determined what a fair amount was, and it was in the $100 to $150 range, the state estimated, so we just went $100. And so, and then with the new online catalog that we have, the interface allows us to promote their material. So if you are searching the catalog and you type in Jackson Hole history, and that's a trigger word and a phrase, and it'll bring up essentially a digital billboard, I guess, for the Historical Society and say, oh, you can find, here's their hours, here's when you can access their library collection, and these books are in their library instead of ours. So the new MOUs outline the ongoing maintenance cost and the ability to do that. And I don't want to say anything about the law library one.
No, if anyone has any questions.
It's just sort of morphed around.
Yeah.
We had the wrong parties for the MOU initially, and so
Okay,
Abigail got us on
Kind
the
of
right path.
housekeeping a little bit.
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, no, they both seem really reasonable.
And they're both, well, I know Morgan at the Historical Society is ready to sign.
Okay.
Thanks, Judge.
Yeah, Judge Owens and the bar association reviewed and made some edits, so it's in final form, they're ready to sign.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion about either one of these?
I will.
Go ahead, Vicky.
I'll move that the library enters a MOU between Jackson Hole Historical Society and Museum and with Teton County Law Library.
Okay, can we do those combined? Two separate agreements is the motion?
Sure.
The library with the Historical Society and the library with the law library. Okay,
Your motion made it clear it's two.
two. Okay, perfect. I second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Right, any other matters from any of us or for library employees or staff? Hearing none, we're approaching our last motion, which is vouchers.
Vicky was in here yesterday.
Thank you, Vicky. Thanks for standing in, or is that, were you standing in for Peggy? Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, poor Stella, I was in her office for a long time.
That's fine.
Would you like to make the motion then, Vicky?
Sure, I move to approve the payment of all those library vouchers I looked at for the month of September 2023.
I second.
Thanks, Mary Lee. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. I move to adjourn. Do I have to move to adjourn?
Yeah.
I move to adjourn our meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Stan, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Good to see you, Vicky.
Thanks, guys. Good to see you all.
Okay, bye.